Hi, bestie. How are you doing today? I hope you're having a fantastic day. Welcome back to the Best Friend Book Club. I'm Sarah, and I am so happy you made it. Today, we're going to be getting into a summary of everything that happens in A Court of Frost and Starlight. I fear people will probably skip this episode, but if you're interested, stay tuned. I know so many people have skipped this book completely, and so I've read it every single time I reread the series because I feel like there is important information in here. And yes, if you just skip straight to Silver Flames, the gaps are kind of filled in for you, but I feel like it's an important read. It's like pulling teeth to read it. Like, it took me longer to read this than it did to read Silver Flames. Like, it took me a while, so I get it. But I feel like it's necessary. Also, my nails kind of match the cover today, so I love that. But I'm just going to get into a chapter by chapter summary of everything that happens in this book. We're going to go through everyone's POVs, what we're learning, all that fun stuff. So let's just jump right in. Oh, but before we do that, if you want access to the PDF versions of the summaries or the theories, as well as early access to episodes, make sure to check out the Patreon, patreon.com/bestfriendbookclubpodcast. Let's get into it. Chapter 1 is from Feyre's point of view. She wakes up. Rhys is not there, and they're kind of catching us up on how everyone's adjusting after the war. We know that at this point, it has been 2 years since she killed Andrus. Now, all of this has happened in 2 years. So from the start, like the very beginning of A Court of Thorns and Roses, to the start of A Court of Frost and Starlight, 2 years. That girl has seen some shit in 2 years, let me tell you. So we also find out that Nesta has her own apartment in Valaris, and so does Lucian. And in this chapter, Lucian comes back from the spring court with a black eye and a split lip. We will get into that more in the theories episode, because right now I'm just stating the facts. And then Rhys tells Feyre that he's with Cassian at one of the Illyrian camps through their mating bond. We then get the next chapter, which is from Rhys-Anne's point of view. So he's with Cassian, and they're arguing with Devlin. Is it Devlin? I'm pretty sure. About getting the women to train. He's like, yeah, they'll train as soon as they're done with their chores. It's like, okay. I don't know. It's just, to me, I feel like they give him so many excuses when it's like, oh, it just takes so much longer for Faye to like adjust to things. Don't make me angry. Okay. We find out in this chapter that when Rhys and Feyre got a little freaky deaky when they were flying over Valaris, because I've seen so many memes of like the people of Valaris, like looking up in the sky and seeing them. But he used some kind of cloaking magic, so no one actually saw them up there. But I do love those memes. They're really, really funny. So basically, the Illyrians feel like Cassian and Rhys were getting revenge on the Illyrians for the way that Cassian and Rhys were treated when they were kids. So they're going to try to manage that somehow. I don't know how they plan on doing that, but yeah, they got to fix that. And it's solstice again, so it's Feyre's 21st birthday. Rhys is struggling with basically feeling like all of this is some sort of joke. It's going to fade away. It's going to be taken away from him. Then we have what I would describe as a very heartwarming conversation. It was between Rhys and Cassian about how Cassian thought that the mating bond was basically bullshit until Rhys and Feyre came along. And they're just hugging each other and comforting each other. And I just thought that this was a very sweet moment. I really, really love Cassian. Frost and Starlight, like, I start to fall out of love with Rhys in Wings and Ruin. Frost and Starlight is when I fully get on the Rhys hate train. I'm like, I do not like this man anymore. I will get to it, but I have some choice words for him. I really love that we get so many different POVs throughout this book, and I really hope that we continue to get more POVs. And by more POVs, I mean just like not Rhys and Feyre. Like, I love seeing Cassian more. I would love some Azriel chapters. I like seeing what everyone else has going on, similar to like in Throne of Glass. when it starts to switch to like so many different POVs that you don't even know what to do with all of it. So Cassian's chapter, he flies to Ramiel. Oh, goodness. Why can't I get these right? The Sacred Mountain. And he's talking about or thinking about. So we learn as the reader about the blood rite and how Cassian, Rhys, and Azriel did the blood rite together. They were able to reach the top, that whole thing. He goes back to the village that he was born in, and it's just debris at this point. And we find out that he dealt with the people responsible for his mother's suffering, and that's kind of, oh, hi, baby. If you're watching the video, this is my cat, Boomy. How are you? Oh, okay. Do you want to say hi, Boomy? You want to say hi? We also find out that the reason that Cassian's pushing so hard for them to train the women is because of his mother, and he wants the Illyrians to basically become something better. We then go back to a chapter from Feyre's point of view. I think the next 2 chapters are from Feyre's point of view, so we'll just kind of put those 2 together. So Feyre visits the Rainbow. She talks with the shop owner that was defending her store back when the Rainbow was attacked, like that whole thing. The lady with the rusted pipe. Her name is Racina. Guys, I'm trying my best here. So she tells her about a storefront in the Rainbow that's for sale. We find out that a group of fairies paint at the studio that Racina owns. Racina? I want to call her Racinia. Like Jasenia with an R. That's what it looks like to me. So we'll go with that. She invites Feyre to join her and come paint with them sometime. And more and Feyre go shopping for a gift for Amren. Honestly, I get it. I get it. Like, it's not the most entertaining, but I feel like stuff that happens, especially in the later chapters, is really important. So I'm just giving you the facts here. So then Mor tells Feyre that the 2 of them and Rhys are going to go to the human city, and Eris will be there. Feyre finally gets to see Rhys. So I think this is the first time in the whole book. This is like chapter 5, but this is the first time that she's actually seeing him. They're catching up a little bit. For whatever reason, we learn about Fae menstrual cycles and how Feyre wants to enjoy her life with Rhys before having a baby. Now, did that age well? She's like, I just want to enjoy our life. Okay, enjoy it for the next 2 months before you get pregnant. They talk a little bit about Elaine and Lucien. And Rhys says that he hasn't forgiven Lucien for how he treated Feyre under the mountain. I don't understand. I genuinely don't understand. Y'all know I love Lucien, but like, just looking at what actually happened, I feel like Lucien did a lot for Feyre. He was literally willing to die before giving her name to Amarantha, then helped her out in the first task. Then in the second task, he was going to die with her. If she failed that task, he was going to die with her. And then he went into her cell to heal her. Can we be so serious? I'm sorry. I don't mean to shout. I need to relax because it just makes me upset. This, like, he didn't do anything. Like, what the hell are you talking about? She then tells him about Racina inviting her to paint with her. And Rhys is being very supportive, but Feyre just seems like a little hesitant, which valid, but nothing really of note there. Then we have a chapter from Mor's point of view. So they visit the human city and they see Kier and Eris, Mor's 2 favorite people. And then Mor kind of recalls the day that she was dumped in the autumn court and Eris found her. She had 3 nails in her abdomen. For whatever reason, I always remembered it just being 1. So she has 3 nails in her abdomen, and Eris told who he was with not to touch her because that would make her their problem. And then he left her there. That is what Moore remembers of the situation. Now, I've talked in other theory videos that I think like there's something else there. There's something else that happened that we don't know about, but I don't know. And then Eris mentions that his dad, Baron, wants to expand the Autumn Court territory into the human lands, and he suggests that a conversation should be had with Tamlin if they want to stop that from happening, because the only thing that's preventing Autumn from getting to the human lands is spring. We then have a chapter from Rhysand's point of view. So Rhys is having a meeting with Azriel, and they discuss the clans of Illyrians that are kind of spreading discontent throughout the mountains about the war. Like all of this like negative talk that's happening and how they're going to fix that. And they also talk about how Lucien is going to the Spring Court for Solstice to see Tamlin, and that Rhys is planning to see Tamlin as well. That's like one of my least favorite interactions in the entirety of the series, but we'll get there when we get there. Then we have a chapter from Cassian's point of view again. So he goes into a store in the Illyrian Mountains and he meets Emery. She is a store owner that like she's the only female store owner because her father died in the war, didn't have any male relatives to really give it to, so she is now the shop owner. The shop across the street from her is sold out, but it looks like people are purposely avoiding her shop. Like she has stuff to sell, but people are not going to visit her shop. So Cassian then buys up all of her winter gear and asks her to deliver it to anyone in the camp who might not have the things to survive the storm that's coming. I believe in this chapter he already starts to say that Emery reminds him of Nesta a little bit, but I think I made note of that in the theories episode. 2 chapters now from Feyre's point of view. So Feyre goes back to paint at Rhaenys's studio. She's about to go inside. She's feeling a little hesitant. She ends up not going inside and instead winnowing into Polina's old studio. So a fairy that died during that attack. Her studio is empty, the one that was for sale. And she paints by herself. She ended up painting how she saw herself in the Ouroboros. She leaves it there to dry overnight because she doesn't want anyone to see it. So then we have Rhysand's point of view, him visiting Tamlin at the Spring Court. And he's basically saying, like, this court looks like shit and Tamlin deserves all of this. He brought it all on himself, that sort of thing. I really don't like Rhys at this point. Because already, I mean, I've talked about this, I'm sure, to the point where you're sick of hearing it. But I get it. I get why we don't like Tamlin. However, I do think that he was doing what he thought was right, not saying that it was right, but he thought he was saving the person he loved from a shitty situation. There's just so many layers to it. And so at this point, they've already completely destroyed his court. Like, he's just a shell of himself. And Rhys is going to kick him while he's down. So, he barely even speaks to Tamlin about actually enforcing the borders. He's more just like, I have everything that you've ever wanted, basically. I don't know. I don't like this. He went there with the intention of, like, Tamlin needs to enforce his borders. It's such a small part of the conversation. And Tamlin's like, do you think she'll ever forgive me? Like, that kind of thing. And it's just, Rhys literally has everything that Tamlin wanted. And it's just frustrating to me that Rhys is then going back and, like, pouring salt in the wound, essentially. He's like, oh, gotta get back to my mate. Shut up, man. Like, don't piss me off. When Rhys gets back to Velaris, he talks to Feyre, and she's like, you're usually the bigger male, so it's fine to slip up every now and then, which I guess is true as, like, a statement on its own, but she's justifying his shitty actions, and it just drives me crazy. Like, they do this for each other. When she went into Lucian's mind in the last book, he's like, oh, you had every right to. No, you didn't. You literally didn't. So this just seems to be a trend for them. And then Rhys then goes shopping for a solstice gift for Amren and Feyre. We then have 2 more chapters from Feyre's point of view. So we have Feyre and Cassian decorating for solstice, and then they get so drunk that they stop decorating. Azriel kind of comes in to try to fix the mess of decorations that they have, and then he joins them in drinking, so they're all drinking together. Rhys then shows up with Mor and Amren, and then Amren brings up that Nesta's coming to solstice, and then also says so is Varian. I really like Varian and Amren together. I think they're really cute. Okay. This moment, I feel like, is important to point out in my theory that Azriel and Elain do not end up together, but they have a little, like, family meal, and Elain tells Feyre that basically Nesta doesn't ever want to do anything with them, which, like, okay, valid. They don't cut her some slack. Like, yes, all three of them, their dad died, but they're treating Nesta like she shouldn't be grieving. Like, Nesta's very clearly grieving and going through some shit, and they're just like, she never wants to hang out. Shut up. Like, don't make me angry. But at this point, Elaine's like, oh, I still have my apron on. She leaves to go take the apron off, and Cassian starts to eat, and Azriel stops him and is like, you do not eat until she comes back to the table. I remember why I brought that up, because then Rhys tells Feyre this is because of the way that his mom was treated. And, like, I think he's so soft with Elaine because she reminds him of his mother, but I don't think that he's, like, in love with her personally. Then moving on, the conversation moves to Amren discussing how annoying it is to use the bathroom because she chose a female form, which valid. And then Elaine is like, well, could you have changed into a male form? And Amren stops her and she's like, you won't be able to change back into a human. Which I wonder, if you can bind yourself into a body, can't Elaine just bind herself into a human body? But, like, I guess at that point, why would you? Oh, Boomy's back. Hi, baby. I just wonder if Elaine will ever have the opportunity to change back into a human. Why would she want that if both her sisters are immortal? Because at that point, like, if my brother's immortal and I have the option to also be immortal, hell fucking yeah. Like, no questions asked. So then Feyre decides to go visit Nesta, and she goes with Rhys. They find out Nesta's not home, so Rhys tracks Nesta with his magic, and they end up at this seedy tavern. Feyre talks with Nesta, and she gets her to come to Solstice. Well, she's trying to get her to come to Solstice. She ends up bribing her. She's like, you want your rent paid next month? You're coming to Solstice, which, okay. And then Feyre starts to pull the, oh, well, Dad would want you to come kind of thing. And Nesta just cuts her off. And she's like, we're not doing that. And then Feyre tells Nesta if she comes, her rent will be paid. Yeah. So at the end of the chapters, when she's like, okay, please come to Solstice and I'll pay your rent. It's like, I just don't like the manipulation. Nesta is very clearly grieving. I don't give a fuck that Elaine wants to see Nesta. And honestly, I don't even think Elaine wants to see Nesta that bad. A chapter from Rhysand's point of view. So Rhys is walking and talking with Mor. They talk about when Keir is planning to come visit Valaris. And he starts to drop a little bit of hints about the continent. He tells her that Azriel is making some connections on the continent, and they need her to maintain those connections. So he's making the initial contact. She needs to keep it up. And he does tell her, though, it's not in order. It's up to her to actually follow through on that request. Which I find it interesting that when he talks to the females, like Feyre, Nesta, Elaine, Mor, he's like, it's not an order. It's like your choice. It's always your choice. You have the choice to do whatever you want. When he's talking to Cassian, he's like, you're going to do it because I fucking told you to do it. There's no, oh, it's your choice. No. I don't know. I just find that interesting. Switching back over to Feyre's point of view, this book is a lot of let's go shopping and let's go shopping and let's buy a gift and let's go shopping some more. So Feyre goes shopping with Elaine. Elaine's looking for a gift for Nesta and Feyre is shopping for Rhys. Oh, this is when they go to this weaver's store. They see the tapestry of the Night Court insignia and the fabric is so dark that it removes light. And then there's a white fabric on it that does the opposite, that like emits light. They talk to the owner a little bit, and her husband, I think, died in the war. And she calls the black fabric that she used, that she created, void, and the white one, hope. So Feyre ends up buying this tapestry. She then, later on, winnows into the empty studio to paint all of her feelings and is caught by Rosinia, who tells her that Polina's family is looking to sell the studio. So she's like, hey, Miss Girl, I mean, you're already using it, so like you might as well just buy the whole studio. And then Feyre talks to Rhys about it and maybe opening something where she can teach other people to paint, and that would be a nice thing to have or a nice thing to do. And then Feyre visits Amren, who says Nesta comes over every few days, like her and Nesta have a relationship, and she won't betray Nesta's trust by telling Feyre what they discuss, which I really love. I loved Amren and Nesta's friendship, and I really hope that we can get back to that at some point, because I really felt like the only person that was truly there for Nesta was Amren. So back to Rhys-Anne's point of view. So he's talking to Azriel and Cassian while they get settled in the room that they're sharing in the townhouse. Cassian asks about all of this, this negative talk that is spreading in the camps. But Azriel and Rhys have made the decision to not tell Cassian that information until after solstice, which again, Rhys keeping secrets. I don't understand why, like what it's going to do to like not tell him for a few days, but what do I know? And then Varian is celebrating Solstice Eve with them, and Rhys asks if he wants Tarquin to join. Varian says he'll think about it, but like it's kind of like, yeah, I'll think about it, not happening. And then Elaine and Feyre are just sitting there hoping that Nesta shows up. The next 4 chapters are going to be from Feyre's point of view. So she wakes up, it's her birthday, and it's also solstice. So Rhys wakes her up with some presents. He gives her a sketchbook, a scarf, and a bag to carry her painting supplies with charcoals and pencils inside. She says that she wants to draw Rhys, and so she does just that. Oh, she says she wants to draw him naked. And so she does that. And then Azriel and Cassian take Rhys to do God knows what. Because at this point, we don't know exactly what they're doing. And then Feyre does some paperwork on her birthday. Okay. Goes to find Elaine. And then Lucien knocks on the door. If you're watching the video, you can literally like see me smile. And I'm like, ooh, Lucien's there. Okay. Focusing up. So then Lucien was just kind of stopping by to visit. It's Feyre's birthday and it's solstice, so he got Feyre a birthday gift and then he got Feyre and Rhys a solstice gift and then got Elaine a gift as well. Those are the only 2 gifts that he brought. We find out that he's staying at the house in the human lands with Jurian and Vassa. They call themselves the Band of Exiles, and he's kind of become friends with them. And after Rhys visited the Spring Court, Tamlin essentially kicked Lucien out. And now he's mostly like hanging out in the human realm. So because of Rhys's actions, now the person that they had as a connection to Tamlin no longer has that connection, which is... Anyways. I think Feyre is an absolute bitch to Lucien in this chapter. And he literally says, like, you're as much of an asshole as your mate. And it's true. Like, she's being so rude to him for no fucking reason. Like, it just makes me angry. And then Elaine doesn't really spend that much time with him. He leaves. And then Mor tells Feyre that the Bat Boys disappeared to the cabin for their annual snowball fight. So it is a tradition that they had before Rhys went under the mountain, that every year they do a snowball fight on solstice. We also find out that it's an Illyrian tradition to sauna naked together after this snowball fight. And I've told you, I had it in the episode a while ago, but there's a fanfic when Feyre joins them. It's so good. But moving on. Back at the house for solstice, they make a little birthday cake for Feyre that has 3 tiers, and each tier is decorated like a tier of one of the drawers that she painted. They really will beat this dead horse that she predicted the future by painting something for each person. And they start handing out gifts when there's a knock at the door, and it's Nesta. So Nesta decides to join them for Solstice because she wants her rent paid. Elaine's the only one that bought Nesta a gift. To be fair, they didn't know if she was going to show up or not, but it kind of sucks to be forced to go and then it's like, y'all didn't really want me here. But she got her some romance books. They go over what everyone got each other. It's not super, important, I guess. So just the ones that stick out. Feyre gave Rhys the painting of what she saw in the Ouroboros. Elaine gives Azriel a powder for all of the headaches that everyone gives him. And then Lucian got Feyre and Rhys some liquor because he said they'll need it. And Elaine, he got Elaine some enchanted gardening gloves. When the night is over, Feyre gives Nesta her rent and she leaves. And Cassian goes storming after her. This is like one of the first major Cassian and Nesta scenes. So I love this. So then the next chapter is from Cassian's point of view, and he offers to walk Nesta home. She doesn't really want to have anything to do with him. Surprise, surprise. And he keeps pushing her, asking her to at least try for her sisters, and she snaps at him. So she gets mad at him. She leaves, and he had a present for her, and she was like, I don't want it. I don't want it. So he then throws it into the Sidra. We don't find out what that present is until Silver Flames. I've seen people posting I want to know what Lorcan did, and I want to know what Cassian got Nesta. And I'm like, well, I don't think we'll ever know what Lorcan did, but we know what Cassian got Nesta. It's in Silver Flames. In Cassian's chapter, it cuts to Nesta's POV, so we don't actually get a full chapter from Nesta. But it cuts to her POV, and she says that she knows Cassian followed her home. She felt his presence. And I feel like, it could either be because we know that they're mates, or it could just be that she has heightened senses, so she's able to sense him. I don't know. And she then is kind of warring with herself, okay, do I not turn the light on and make him sit out there all night, or do I turn the light on so then he'll go home? So she ends up turning the light on. He leaves. But she doesn't turn on the fire because the log cracking sounds like bone. She says she feels nothing. We then have another chapter from Feyre's point of view. So Rhys takes Feyre to the cabin, and he tells her that his mother made her entire wardrobe. So he I don't know how it comes up, but he's like, oh, didn't you wonder where all these clothes came from? And so his mom made each piece of her wardrobe, which I think is so cute. And she asks Rhys to change the eye tattoos on her hands to the Night Court insignia. And he's like, oh, you can't change it once it's on there. But I'm like, well, if you can change it now, you can change it again. But okay. Her last solstice gift to him is her showing him what the carver showed her. And then I think, actually, now that I think about it, no, that's not what happened. I was going to say, I think she's like, oh, I'm ready to have a baby, when they're mind to mind, but I don't think that's what happens. I think she's just showing him this is our kid. So then they start getting a little freaky deaky. They also get freaky at the same time on the bridge between their minds, which is the first time that we're seeing this. And I thought that was very interesting because it's actually, I think, the only time we're seeing that in this series. And then Rhys, after all this, Rhys shows Feyre her last gift, which is a piece of land that he bought. And he tells her to build a house for all of them to fit in since the townhouse is getting a little tight. So, a chapter from Rhys's point of view. He then goes back to visit Tamlin, because once wasn't enough. He finds Tamlin in the kitchen with a dead elk, and then he talks to Tamlin. He says that he talked to Tarquin, and he's going to send Summer Court soldiers to Spring. And then this is when Tamlin asks if Feyre will ever forgive him, if Rhys will. The answer is basically no, and that he needs to be okay with that. And then Rhys uses his power to skin and prepare the elk for Tamlin. He tells him, you got to eat, and then he just dips out of there. So, not much happening with that visit. And he better not want to be patted on the back for doing that, skinning and preparing the elk for him. Don't piss me off. Then we have a chapter from Moore's point of view, which this was so interesting to me. So we find out that she has an estate called Athelwood. She's basically had it for the last 300 years and no one else knows about it. She occasionally goes over there for some alone time. While she's there, she sees a darkness in the forest, and it's described as something different, and her power tells her not to go near it. And that's all we get. Like, that is all we get that chapter. So I just thought that was so interesting. Back to Feyre's point of view, Polina's family gives her the studio. She tries to pay them, and they're like, no, we cannot take your money. They tell her to give the money to charity instead, a charity that supports artists. It covers their needs while they create and stuff. So they're like, just give to that. And then Feyre talks to Ricinia, and she would like, basically she asks Ricinia if she would like an inexperienced business partner, and then they partner up to open this thing. Then we have our last Rhysand chapter, and it's him, Cassian, and Asriel. They're visiting Devlin's camp to see that the girls are training. Asriel and Rhys finally told Cassian which clans are spreading some negative sentiment, and now he's been broody since Solstice. So I guess that's why they didn't tell him before, but it's also like, why keep things from each other? I'm not understanding that. And Cassian's determined to get the girls training. Like, he's on it. Our last 2 chapters in the whole book are going to be from Feyre's point of view. So this is Feyre and Ricinia opening up the studio, specifically for kids who may have lost a parent in the war, but so that kids can express their feelings through art. That's like the whole purpose of this. The first class is full. They have other artists interested in teaching as well, and they're going to set up like a schedule for the week. And then Rhys drops by the studio to pick up Feyre for lunch. She shows them what some of the kids painted, and they walk through the rainbow, and Feyre says how happy she is in Valaris, and they tell each other how much they love each other. So really, I call this the Christmas special. Like, it is not high stakes at all. There's very little drama. It's just kind of updating you. It's more political, I guess. Like, more, okay, Rhys is dealing with the Illyrians. They're dealing with Baron and Eris and then Tamlin. Like, it's more that. I mean, it's definitely my least favorite of the 5, but it's also the shortest, and it doesn't have a lot going for it, quite honestly. But thank you so much for watching. If you have watched this far, either DM me, comment on my most recent post, a snowflake emoji so I know you made it this far and you're part of the cool club. And then if you want, okay, so my Instagram is at bestfriend.bookclub for the podcast. It's going to be at Simply Serotonin for my more book account, lifestyle stuff, at bestfriend.bookclub on TikTok and YouTube as well. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.